All right, good morning. Hey, this is Dr. Brakey with the LEAP program. I wanted to do a quick tutorial since we're going to do this learning application presentation instead of a final exam for LEAP 4030. I wanted to step through. If you haven't done it, it can seem a little overwhelming, but it's really not that bad. So I wanted to do that. So let's start first, and forgive me, I'll be back and forth between two screens. Here's the slides for my presentation, not in slideshow mode yet, and you can see my head. So what we're doing is notice you can grab the picture, the embedded picture of yourself and move it around so it's not blocking things. So when you get ready to start, go down here or in the upper tabs, you can select slideshow mode. So then it makes it full screen and makes it easier to read. So now you have your slides with you narrating and looking at the camera, unlike me. So let's step through this, okay? 5 to 7 minutes. So I get questions on how many slides is that. I don't have a slide number, but if you have an intro slide, and I've got a demo set of slides here in a minute, then your main points, of which there's four, and they happen to be the course learning objectives, and then kind of a summary slide and a reference slide, probably 7 or 8, with the meat of them being the main points. The intro goes fairly quickly, who you are, what you're talking about, and then the reference slide you can just leave up at the end as you finish to show what references you used. So here are the four course learning objectives. So those are your four main points that you want to cover. So after the intro, probably an agenda slide would be good. I'm Mike Brakey, and I'm going to talk today about the learning assessment presentation. Here's what I'm going to cover today. And then you go into each of those individually. So your agenda slide might look a lot like this as far as here's what I'm going to cover. Okay? And all of this is printed in the description of the assignment as well. So as you do this, you're going to submit the presentation using Canvas Studio. Okay? And I'll show you a picture of what that looks like. What you want to work on, a clear voice. Look, you're probably going to do this 3 or 4 times. This is my third attempt at putting together this tutorial because every time you think of something, I should have said this, or you get stuck on a word, whatever it is, you don't have to practice it so that it's absolute polished perfection. But if you flub it up, go ahead and do it again. Right? Appropriate font size, somewhere 18 to 20 works pretty good. If you go smaller than that, they become eye charts. The slides are almost unreadable. You can have pictures, but don't let the pictures be overwhelming and don't let them cover the text that you're trying to cover. Okay? Focus on what it is you're talking about. So limited information. So what you want are these bullets, and those bullets should remind you of this is what I talk about. You've probably seen presentations where people read the slides to you. Ugh, right? I can read. What I want is a bullet, and then you describe it in your own words, right? Speaking from, but not reading the slides. Include the PowerPoint, as you can see in the background. And one hint, do check your background. One, and I saw it on some of the Zooms we had. I don't know what it is, but somehow the ceiling fan gets like perfectly above your head, so you look like a kid with one of those propeller hats. Or I've seen presentations, shall we say, pile of dirty clothes on the bed in the background does not make the best background. Okay. Select Studio tab to submit, blah, blah, blah. We'll go through that in a minute. So here's the nuts and bolts. This is the part. One, for Apple users, I have no clue how to use a Mac. So these are directions from somebody who does know. So if you do have a Mac, the problem we've seen with Apple is if you don't go through these steps and enable certain things, what we get is your picture, your narration, and your screensaver. And that's all we see the whole time is your screensaver. Okay? So, in order to record this, if you look in Canvas over on the left-hand border, did I put left hand? Oh, look, my head's in the way already. So that's where you can move it around if you need to. Find the Studio tab and click it. Okay, and I'm going to show you some screenshots because it's easier than bouncing around between screens. Yep, that's what it looks like. Click Create, and again, I'll step through this. Select Studio Capture. This will make more sense as you go through in Studio, right? Again, these are in the directions. Enable the camera. Yeah, because you're supposed to record yourself. Now, here's another piece. Canvas has just updated Studio. So there's the potential where you go through, get everything set up, but your face doesn't show up. And I had to go through this myself to enable it. So that's on the next page if you get stuck here. Select start recording. As you hit start recording, you're going to get a 3 count. 3, 2, 1. Give one more pause as the numbers go away, because somehow it seems like it cuts off your first couple words. So kind of a, okay, and go, right? Make sure the camera's where you want it, right? Again, you can move it around so it's not blocking things. When you finished, and I'm not going to hit that right now, finish recording, and it'll stop, save it. It'll allow you to give it a name and save the media. And that's what you're going to submit is the MP4. Okay, so here's the if something fouls up when you try to set this up. This comes from Chrome, and that's the recommended. Chrome works best for some reason. You can go through in the settings, and you have to give permission for your webcam, right? Webcam and microphone to work. And once you do that, before you hit record, you'll see your picture show up, and there's a blue bar on the bottom, which gives you an idea as to the volume setting. And you can adjust it. If you use automatic, that seems to work the best. Right? And here's how you submit it. It'll be as an attachment that you submit, just like, a PDF or a Word document, right? Now, that note at the bottom, Canvas likes to change names of naming conventions occasionally. So who knows? I'm doing this, right as the semester's getting ready to roll. If you see something a little bit different, you can always ask. Give it a try, right? But it's not going to hurt anything. Hopefully the names and convention stays the same. So here is what you're going to see as soon as you click that studio, the little octopus looking thing, right? This, and down here is where your studio is. And this is my library. If you've never done one of these, your library will be empty, but that's okay. You're going to put this video in your library. Okay? You're going to go over here and hit create, and that's going to start the process. Once you do that, you go to screen capture down here, and you're going to enable it. And I'm not going to do that right now because it'll probably freak this thing out. Once you do, you're going to get 3 options: a Chrome tab, a window, don't want that, oops, and the entire screen. I deleted, I knocked that off there. Let's see, there it is. Entire screen is what you want. If you only have one screen, it's simple. You pick your screen. If you've got a couple, you want to select the one that has your slides on it, right? So this is a demo presentation just for your own benefit, I suppose. This was a presentation I gave in a doctoral class about 1.5 years ago, and it has to do with how the brain works. That's not the important part. It's just the idea of introductory slide, what it is you're talking about, who you are, some kind of title if you want to put, LEAP 4030 student, LEAP 4010 student, whatever class you're in, blah, 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 whatever you want to put. And a picture is always good, something associated with what it is you're talking about. And there's your agenda slide. Here's what I'm going to talk about today. So it gives the audience a roadmap of what to expect. And of course, you guys won't have to have questions. That's more for when you're doing this live to remind you, hey, are there any questions? And then end with your references, right? And the reference page doesn't have to be APA perfect, just the websites or books or whatever it is you use to build your presentation. Okay, so I'm not going to go through these in detail, but it follows that agenda, definitions. Okay, and if you do use, just like when you write in a reflective essay, use the author date page style or author and date if it's just paraphrased. Okay, so Kahneman obviously would show up on my reference page. Blah, blah, blah. So here's what I'm talking about, still following along with the agenda. And it had to do with this idea of in an emergency, you have to do something really quick. If the engine's on fire, you need to shut it off or the wing comes off, which would be bad, right? And the reason we did this in the military was you sometimes don't have time to think. You just have to do it, right? So ejection, you shouldn't have to go, ooh, dig through the checklist because by then your plane has hit the ground. And that's all bad. My example, some pictures to talk about what I was talking about. Notice how these slides or these bullets come up one at a time. There's an animation tab. If you have 4, 5, 6 bullets on a given slide, if you animate and look on the top of PowerPoint, animation tab, and you can select fly in, float in. What that does is it allows for every click of the mouse to bring up another bullet. It prevents eye charts, and it also helps with tempo as you present to an audience, keeps you from rushing. I like using it because it does help with my tempo. Right? Notice that last slide did not have any animation because I didn't really need it. And then this one does. All right, the rest of the story, kind of the conclusion, summarizing. Some of you who've been in 3010 with me have seen this, but this was also part of the presentation, this OODA loop, the idea of once you make an action, go right back in to see how it's working. There's your questions. As a reminder, again, you guys won't need this, and then your references. Okay? And again, it doesn't have to be in perfect format. So that's your slideshow demo, right? So again, let's go back through those steps. Studio, create, studio capture is the style that you want. If it's the first time you used it, it may have a pop-up, download this material. Okay, fine. Do that and then just follow through these steps. Look, if you get stuck on anything, just give me a call. We can set up a Zoom and go through it. It may take a little fiddling. Sometimes I learn best by experimenting. So do that. Now, once this is all done and you guys can't see it right now, let me see. I'm going to move this over. This may freak everything out. So this is what, and if you sit still long enough on campus, your lights go dim. Right? As you finish now, see the finish recording button shows up. As soon as you click that, it's going to stop and start saving your recording. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to post this tutorial. And again, if you have any questions, please ask.